Welcome to a week in review for the week of March 5th through the 9th. I'm Kim Huber.
And I'm Aimee Bench. 18 to 24-year-olds are the lowest registered age group when it comes to voting. That's true in Provo, too. 11 News reporter Corey Aldis found that some students say they're just too busy with school, work, and college life in general.
President John F. Kennedy said one person can make a difference and every person should try. But actually getting students to vote is hard to do.
We had a city council race that was decided by 6 votes. So had 3 people changed their minds, that would have changed a city council election. And so it does. One vote makes a tremendous difference.
Any U.S. citizen over the age of 18 can vote. Some students say registering to vote shows they're willing to learn more about local and national government.
Driving to the school, there's a sign that says "Enter to learn, go forth to serve," and so I think it's our duty to, and the kind of the spirit of our school, to support those who are already serving us.
BYU College Democrats and BYU College Republicans are 2 groups on campus who take their jobs seriously. That job is to get students more active in the election process.
Opportunity there to really kind of analyze things and see who really is the best candidate. And that helps for democracy when we have people trying to think about things instead of making just knee-jerk decisions about their voting choices.
Getting informed is up to each individual student. Those who are interested can take the time to follow the election to become more involved in the presidential race.
Thanks, Corey. Getting college students to become more politically active may be a difficult task, but the mayor says their votes make a difference. Registering to vote is pretty simple. Voters can find instructions on their own county website. And for national elections, Super Tuesday is over and the results are in. While Mitt Romney won 6 of the 10 Super Tuesday states, he still failed to attract diehard conservatives that instead voted for Rick Santorum. Romney now has 415 delegates, which is more than all the other candidates combined. But with more than half of America still to vote, the race isn't over yet.
The State House approved a bill that requires Utah women to wait 3 days before getting an abortion, the longest waiting period in the country. Utah representatives say that the extra time helps women to think the decision through, but Planned Parenthood of Utah says the government should trust women in their choices. The bill moves to the Senate on Thursday.
As lawmakers start to firm up the state budget this week, multiple universities are contending for money to replace buildings that don't measure up to today's construction standards. Universities have spent millions trying to fix buildings from the 60s. And if lawmakers approve the requests, taxpayers can expect to foot the bill for billions of dollars of college reconstruction in the coming years.
And now the legislation comes to an end. The bill to cap class sizes likely won't pass, but the issue is far from dead. 11 News reporter Karen Sullivan spoke with teachers who worry about unintended consequences of class caps.
Utah has the largest class sizes in the nation, and this session, lawmakers discussed a bill that could change that. But the bill's sponsor says because it got held up in the House, the bill probably won't pass.
There is no good reason why Utah can't put a cap on class sizes in kindergarten through 3rd grade. And it's really unfortunate that this bill didn't pass.
But not everyone agrees with Senator Morgan.
Funding is an issue the state school board says hasn't been adequately addressed. And there's also concern that classrooms might actually be adversely affected.
Okay, class.
Sandy Davis is a 5th grade teacher who worries that her class will see an increase in numbers if the state puts a cap on just kindergarten through 3rd grade. She says schools might have to move teachers to the lower grades, leaving fewer teachers in 4th grade and up.
It's super and wonderful if they will attach more funds to be able to give more classrooms, in addition to just saying they're going to be less, you're going to be more. That's difficult.
The legislative session ends tomorrow at midnight, but the Education Committee will study possible solutions to Utah's large class sizes during the interim. At the Capitol, Karen Sullivan, 11 News.
Teachers tell us that they will get around the challenge of crowded classrooms the same way that they have for years, with volunteers and peer tutors.
And crowded classrooms or not, if you want your children to learn about sex education, you can't rely on Utah Public Schools anymore. The Utah legislature passed a bill that allows school districts to opt out of teaching sex ed in classrooms. The bill prohibits instruction of contraception use and requires schools to teach abstinence only if they teach the topic at all. Opponents say the bill is flawed because not every child has parents who will teach them.
An LDS bishop's attorney is trying to prevent his client from posing for a mugshot. Gordon Moon is charged with failing to report a teenage girl's disclosure of sexual abuse. His attorney said a mugshot of an innocent man will hinder the chances of a fair trial, but others say mugshots are a part of the process and help identify people quickly.
Salt Lake's expanding hip-hop culture brings with it an increase in graffiti. The battle over the popular form of street art has police and taggers butting heads. 11 News reporter Katrina Malentieva shows us what people in Salt Lake say the art means to them.
Police and cleaning crews hate this sound. To them, it means hours of cleanup and money wasted. This year alone, taxpayers will give up millions of dollars to help keep their communities graffiti-free. Brent Allender spends his days cleaning graffiti with pressure washers and baking soda and says his workload has increased dramatically.
2002, we did less than 5,000 sites in a year. And this just past year, we did over 15,000 sites.
But local graffiti artists don't consider the costs. They say this art brings joy to their lives.
I just love opening a fresh can of paint. Such a rush.
Trains, warehouses, and empty walls. These are just some of the places amateur artists choose to tag. Others opt for a more dramatic delivery. This Beatles-inspired mural has lived in downtown Salt Lake for years without complaint. And artists say the graffiti serves more than one purpose.
It's probably the first international movement in art where it really wraps around the world. It has both a political role, and I think it has a virtuous side.
But this art is rare and turns into a problem when artists tag the wrong places.
Graffiti artists say they only need a few cans of spray paint to create a mural the size of this one, but cleanup services say they need dozens of volunteers and more than 100 gallons of paint to remove it.
So what do graffiti detectives think about this art?
Pick another addiction, because it is. I mean, it's an addiction like the kids that you don't see until they're 21 who constantly play it from age 5 to age 18 video games.
And getting caught could mean hefty fines and jail time.
Where I had a senior in high school who had a $450,000 Art Institute scholarship. And I had 9 felonies, which was 5 years to life in prison.
But if you just can't put down the can, police encourage artists to go to an authorized wall where spraying is legal. In Salt Lake, Katrina Malentieva, 11 News.
And the city of Los Angeles spends more than $140 million each year dealing with graffiti. A Provo man is getting recognition for turning in thousands of dollars that he found in the toe of a shoe while volunteering at Deseret Industries earlier this year. Last night at the Provo City Council meeting, Mayor Curtis awarded Stephen Bronson for his honesty. Sergeant Sia Fanua says Bronson did the right thing at the right time when no one was watching.
And other news right here in Provo, change and sawdust are in the air as construction wraps up on Utah's newest convention center. 11 News reporter Rosemary Card got a sneak peek during a hard hat tour of the site. The City Council and Convention Center want to make sure that the center can compete in almost every way, which means a few more selections on the beverage menu.
Kids, cars, beer, and leather jackets all well represented at the recent Autorama show in the Southtown Expo Center. Kyle Kane says people should be able to get a drink regardless of who's in attendance.
I think they should give anybody the opportunity to get what they want while they're enjoying themselves looking at cars.
If this show came to Provo last weekend, that wouldn't be possible. With the opening of the Utah Valley Convention Center in May, the Provo City Council has passed an ordinance that will allow the center to sell alcohol with kids around.
The city is judged by how good it does in its heart. And the downtown is a symbol of how well Provo's doing. So the convention center is just a real critical component of that, and we want to do all we can to make them successful.
Construction on the convention center is still underway, and with the new ordinance in place, visitors can expect to purchase drinks sold in cups like these, which officials say will help them to make sure alcohol stays out of the hands of minors. The convention center's general manager says alcohol helps attract visitors, which means the center won't be the only one to see the financial benefits.
Those out-of-town groups bring in people to that spend money in the community, boost the overall economic development of Provo and of Utah County.
Thanks, Rosemary. The new ordinance also cuts back on the extensive background checks of employees who handle alcohol in grocery stores and restaurants. The police department estimates this will save the city $150,000 each year. Well, spring is finally here, and you know what that means. Blue skies and green grass, BYU football. The Cougar defense dominated the first 2 days of practice this week, but the offense is catching up quickly. Injuries are an issue this spring. The entire starting offensive line, along with defensive standout Kyle Van Noy, are spring out, while younger Cougars get a chance to show their stuff. The Cougars will work out in full pads for the first time today, and their spring scrimmage will be on Saturday, March 24th at noon.
The BYU men's basketball team is done with the regular season and waiting for a national tournament invitation. 11 Sports reporter Brady Tucker tells us how fans are waiting it out until Selection Sunday.
The Cougars have won at least 25 games for 6 years in a row, but in a mid-major conference like the WCC, 25 wins leaves BYU on the bubble.
I'm feeling a little bit nervous. It's definitely not a good thing to be on the bubble.
There's not that many teams in the country that have won 25 games this year. And for them still to be on the bubble and not knowing whether they're going to the tournament or not, it's got to be killing them emotionally.
Bracketologists predict that if BYU makes the NCAA tournament, they'll be a 12 seed, making them a huge underdog to win even one game.
Filling out a tournament bracket might not mean much to BYU fans this year if BYU doesn't even make the tournament, but there is hope. You see the pink? That represents the 31 automatic qualifying bids, which means there's 37 at-large bids for BYU to grab.
If the Cougars fail to make the NCAA tournament, they will likely be one of the top seeds in the NIT tournament. Some fans say playing in the NIT wouldn't be all that bad.
We get a couple home games, and so that's be really exciting for Provo to have some teams from across the country come to Provo and show them what the Marriott Center is all about.
While a couple NIT home games would be nice, most Cougar fans say they hope to go dancing next week. On BYU campus, Brady Tucker, 11 Sports.
And both fans and players will find out the team's fate at the same time. The selection committee's decision will air nationally on Sunday afternoon at 4 o'clock on CBS. And the Marriott Center doors may be closed for the season, but the Smith Fieldhouse should be packed tonight for the number 5 ranked men's volleyball team. The Cougars will take on number 11 Pacific tonight and tomorrow. Both games are at 7 p.m. The baseball team is trying to snap a 3-game losing streak on the road against UC Irvine tonight at 7:30 as well. Women's tennis will try to add a 5-game win streak against University of Texas Arlington in Boise, Idaho. And 11 BYU track and field athletes are competing in the NCAA championships in Nampa, Idaho.
And that's a look at the Week in Review. Thanks for watching.